Balancing the economy, land, labor, and capital, when in balance, gives prosperity to all. Presented by Nigel Gittins. In the context of today's economic scenario, this diagram on the left represents the panacea, hidden though it may be, to the economic dilemma facing all countries. All problems and issues that have been listed or that will be listed in this video have as its genesis the lack of observance of what is stated in this diagram. Let's discuss. The first obvious question is whether these three factors of production, land, labor, and capital, are in balance. Put another way, is labor on par with land or capital? Could labor reasonably afford land or capital? Could capital reasonably afford land or is reasonably happy with the output of labor? Are the valuable lands being optimally employed by labor and capital? If the answer to any of these questions is no, then it must be that these factors are out of balance or are unequal and out of balance. Is this imbalance related to the plethora of socio-economic problems now confronting Trinidad and Tobago or anywhere else in the world? Let's have a look at another diagram which depicts schematically what's happening on the ground in any community. So we have this diagram, which is a schematic diagram of a port city, a city that is near the port or the sea. And we have the lands that are closest to the sea on the port itself, the commercial sites, which are the most valuable lands. And then further in, we have residential sites, which are both urban and suburban, where the persons who frequent these commercial sites and work there, where they live, these residential sites. And then further in, we have industrial sites, which are less valuable than the sites that are closer to the port center. And then further in, we have the agricultural sites, where agricultural production takes place. And these sites, of course, are lesser value than the three sites stated before. And then we have lands that are beyond these agricultural sites that are out of production. So in this diagram, we represent the typical economic activity that would prevail on the landscape of many countries. In many port cities of these countries, we can have commercial activity adjacent to the port, and these lands would be of high value. Adjacent to these, we would have residential and recreational sites of lesser value, where the people who frequent these commercial areas would reside. Further out, on lands of still lesser value, you will have industrial and agricultural activity. And then you will come to lands that are not engaged in any economic activity at all. You will notice as you traverse throughout the economic landscape that there are valuable sites, be they commercial, residential, industrial, or agricultural, that are either vacant, underutilized, or carrying on the wrong economic activity. The question is, does this phenomenon relate in any way to the levels of unemployment, underemployment, lack of economic activity, and business depression that we are now witnessing? 1. What impact would there be on the overall economy if these non-producing sites were brought into use? 2. Are the owners of these sites deliberately holding them out of use or cannot get the capital to bring them into use? What mechanism or measure will force these sites to come onto the market and trade with each other? The answer to the third question is site value taxation, which is the taxation of the market value of the site, either in whole or a significant portion of it. Would this measure have a positive impact on unemployment and underemployment, business formation, diversification, and a growth in GDP of the country? Would it bring balance to the economy? Could this site value tax be passed on to the consumer? The answer is no, because all valuable sites will now be subject to the tax. The consumer will likely have the options to purchase at another site or seek another site for business setup if he is an entrepreneur. In both instances, the prices would be exceedingly more affordable. Other benefits to be had from such a fiscal approach by the state include but are not limited to: 1. Employment throughout the economy with salaries and wages that have real purchasing power. 2. Significantly reduced reliance on the state for employment, housing, and social services. 3. The impact on the environment would be positive as towns and villages become more compact and urban sprawl is eliminated. The incidence of undesirable taxation on labor and capital can now be shifted onto valuable lands, which will be much less onerous on the ordinary citizen. 5. Cost of living and inflation will now be significantly reduced. Land, labor, and capital, when in balance, gives prosperity to all. This proposed system is not new and has been proposed since the late 18th century by the great socio-economic thinkers of that time and coming up through the ages: Adam Smith, David Ricardo, John Stuart Mill, Henry George, and others. The prescription has been largely ignored or forgotten. What is obvious is that such a prescription must now be seriously considered and adopted if we are to revert quickly to economic well-being. You can have free access to more video lectures like this that speak to these issues and others by clicking the Watch More button below, where we treat with such questions as: will you ever be satisfied with the purchasing power of your wage or salary? Find out here why and what can be done. Why banking policies worldwide only serve the privileged, and what can easily be done about this so that all can be served. The unequal values of the factors of production, land, labor, and capital. Is this the true cause of all this pervasive poverty? Find out here and why. How taxation is applied throughout any economy. Is this the true reason for declining employment opportunities, low business startups, business failure, business recession? Find out here and why. Why world trade will never be successful for all countries alike? For this one reason. What is missing in all this climate change discussion? And it is right in front of us. Why our public health and public education systems and its institutions are failing, and what can and must be done about it. Balancing the private and public sectors, natural resources, and enlighten the public ownership policies. Why this enlightened paradigm shift needs to be successfully implemented in this pandemic period so that all of humanity can have a chance. Go now and click the Watch More button below and get free access to these very enlightening video lectures. Have a great day.